Warm hello, what's up, friends? What's up, family? How's everybody doing? It is, what is it, Friday? It's Friday, August 1st, 2025. A warm hello, and thank you, folks, for being here. That's Church of Eight Wheels. That's my jamming music. That's my let's have fun music. Let's talk about charts. Let's talk about crypto. Let's have some fun, folks. So thank you for hanging out here. Of course, I'm Big Cheds. You know me on Twitter at Big Cheds. Bitcoin Live, where I'm a founding analyst. I do that twice a week, full market report. I've been doing that for 7 years. And you're here on YouTube at Cheds Trading. This is a quick market update. I do these twice a week, Tuesday and Friday. I'll skip them here and there. They're optional, but I like doing these because I get to talk to you folks. I like to kind of interact with you and share my thoughts. Obviously, I do that a lot on Twitter, but I like these streams. Folks, if you haven't yet, you must check out Trading Encyclopedia. It's my new playlist on YouTube. I'm putting out new videos every single day, and I've already recorded another 100 videos that haven't come out yet, literally another 100. And these are just technical analysis concepts. What's confirmation? How do I set my stop loss? What's a hammer? You know, anything you can think of. I want to make a 3-minute video that you can watch and understand. And what I'm doing is I'm taking professional technical analysis concepts, Japanese candlestick theory and classical charting. I'm trying to take these complicated topics and just making them easier for you to digest. So that's what this is. Check out the Trading Encyclopedia playlist. And, you know, also check out the interview series. I've got some interviews. I just did one last week with Flawless. He's a great content creator. I got more videos coming. I think most of you are here because we want to talk about Bitcoin, a little bit of weakness in the market. We want to talk about Ethereum. We want to try to put, you know, these price moves into perspective. And so we'll definitely do that. While we're filling up the chat room, just give me a shout out and let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you're thinking, what your thoughts are. If you have any questions, I might be able to answer. There's no guarantee I'll be able to answer, but I'll definitely try to. And that's it. So let's have some fun. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So look at this. I mean, we're breaching this daily Bollinger Band, and we observed essentially the tightest Bollinger Bands in quite a while. I'm not sure how long the period in time was. Let's double check. I tweeted out about it. Not here. There's been a lot of low time frame action, pin bars, and retests of support. And I want to set the stage. Super active in Twitter, as you can see. Demand zone and first lower Bollinger breach. Here we go. Yeah, we've had the tightest daily Bollinger Band since February. And the Bollinger Bands get tight after a period of sideways. Move up and consolidation. We know we're in consolidation phase from the weekly time frame. The weekly is an uptrend. That's rather straightforward. Price above a rising MA200. And we saw the advance and then the spinning top, suggesting we'd be in a consolidating phase. So we're consolidating now. And the daily Bollinger Pinch told us essentially we are preparing to leave this consolidation range. Now, the demand zone or the approximate range lows are right around 116K. We're currently trading below that. We are essentially looking at an invalidation of local range lows. And we know that there's essentially a vacuum. I talked about it. I said the price vacuum. I put out a tweet. Now, technically, that's not the correct term. Price vacuum actually refers to a rising gap or an open, you know, like a rising window in candlestick theory. You'd have a close here. And say it opens up here. This technically would be a price vacuum. But for all intents and purposes, you essentially have a price vacuum in between ranges. When the price accelerates like this, it does not stop along the way to consolidate, such as stopping along here, maybe forming, you know, an ascending triangle and continuing or coming and forming a bull flag, such that when the price consolidates later, you can stair step. You have support levels to test. And we essentially just shot right through from the prior breakout level right around 110K and all the way up here. We set our peak at 120K. And it was at 120K. Why didn't I buy more earlier? It's going to 250K. Everybody has their measured move. Based on the height of this consolidation, whether you call it inverted head and shoulders continuation, whether you call it a cup and handle, a spoon and fork, it doesn't matter. People were predicting, expecting it's going to 135K, 140K. It may still get there, but I mean, it will definitely be there at some point, right? We're in a secular uptrend. The weekly chart is quite beautiful, but we're trading here. We're traders, many of you are, and we're looking at level to level, and we're kind of gauging momentum, strengthening and weakening. That's what we do as traders. We take established trends, and we look at moves against it. So Paul says the trading encyclopedia is great. Thanks, Paul. Which videos did you like, Paul? And which videos, would you like to see me add? The Trading Encyclopedia, folks. This is where you can kind of look up anything you want to learn. You can learn professional TA for free here, 3 minutes a day. Today's video was on the RSI. So we're essentially losing 116K. And it makes sense we're probably going to go to around 110, 111K at this point. It would be a very healthy throwback. What would that mean in higher time frames? Well, on the weekly time frame, we're not even at the EMA 8 yet, aka the primary uptrend support. We will observe in the prior advance, multi-week advance, multi-week flag, high and tight consolidation held the EMA 8. We're not even there yet. So while this looks, scary, it's really scary right now. Look, shooting star and all this stuff, all these crazy terms. It's still a really, really strong uptrend, certainly on the weekly chart. Haven't even tagged EMA 8 yet. And if it drops back to, 110, 111K, it would just look like a clean throwback. A throwback is a bullish retest of broken resistance. I have a video here on throwback. What is it? What is it, a bullish retest? You can go watch that. I say a lot of things. Sometimes I speak quickly. I throw out a lot of terms. I did CMT. I'm doing CMT2 now. I've read the textbooks. And so I'll throw out terms. And you can, most of the time, go and look and find. I've made a video for you. So, I mean, if it drops back to that range, it would just be a simple throwback, at this point. Feels like buy the dip, says Amar. Yeah, I mean, but I don't know that I'd be buying the dip in between ranges, right? I'm not going to buy the dip in this price vacuum, Amar. I'd probably start to look here, right around 110K. And again, we understand from our studies of classical charting, that's when you would drop to a lower time frame. You would drop, as price interacts with the key level, you drop to like a 4 hour or 1 hour. I do want to look at this price structure on low time frame with you folks, just for some fun, for some educational content. Space Debris says, hey, Cheds, love the new videos, class of 2021. Thank you, Space Debris. And I also did a great interview. I don't know if you've watched it, and I have some more coming out next week, but I did a long form interview with Follis. He's class of 2021, but he's a content creator now. This is just out 2 weeks ago. I think many of you will really enjoy this conversation. I think I'm pretty good at interviewing people, and that's a fun little series as we dip here below 114K. We'll get to Ethereum in a minute. So looking at the 4 hour, which is a really good trading time frame, and the trend is the MA200, and we're testing and now flirting with losing the MA200. So that's pretty clear. Now, in the 4 hour, you see a series of lower highs. That's quite evident. You see a series of attempted higher lows. You see a loss of that structure. You see essentially a sweep and a recapture, right, of range lows here with volume. And I put out a tweet at the time this was happening. I put out a tweet and I said, volume cluster building on the 4H. Of course, I have a video on that talking about volume clusters. And we had a really nice bounce, 114 up to 119K. It tested this range peak again, rejected, sent back. And then we had something a little bit similar here on the 1 hour, right? As the price was dropping down and retesting that range low, we had this very nice pin bar. I put out a tweet about that, and that's what I was scrolling through here. I basically said, 1H response at daily demand zone, circa 1K. That was the pin bar being basically a lower shadow, candle. Doesn't have to be exactly a hammer. This one doesn't qualify, right? The lower shadow is not long enough. It could be a gravestone doji. It could be anything, as long as there's a long lower shadow candle after a decline, making it a potential reversal candle at the lower Bollinger Band with volume. Had all the construction you'd be looking for like a momentum pivot. And then we had just a really nice bounce from that. And you see it bounce right into 3 white soldiers, and there was some continuation all the way to the peak of the range. So there were some nice, interesting trading bounces here as the price attempted to, break through range peak. But ultimately, it looks like a momentum roll over, essentially a bear break of this bull rectangle. You can call it a bull flag. Remember, and I have a video on this. Bull flag can be a falling flag, can be a sideways flag. You can actually have a rising bull flag. All right. So we had essentially a bull rectangle or bull flag, bear break. It's pushing back down. It's probably going to like 110K. I don't know that I'd be jumping in here absent a structure. I think given this type of local or meaning nearby price weakness, I'd want to be buying back in with momentum. So I'd either want to see it again, as I said, test that range, or I'd want to buy back on a recapture, maybe 116.5, suggesting that the price is back into this range, and then I can manage my risk. Like I'm not holding below like 116 or 116.2, something like that. So that's how I'll play this type of situation with the local breakdown, with the clear support level below. Let's see what's up. Influence, good to see you. Red S Crypto, B Caro. I normally do this video a little bit earlier on a Friday. I know most of you are USA. And by the way, I have a new exchange I'm working with. BingX is my official partner, and they're my favorite exchange. But I have a new exchange that I'm going to be working with just for US folks. I'll announce that in a couple of weeks. But in any case, I usually do it a little bit earlier just to kind of catch all my US folks. But I had to do something today, so I'm a little bit late. So that's my view on BTC 113.8 here, pushing back towards range lows. Ethereum, what do we think? Well, it kept knocking on the door, 3,904K. And you just see a series of attempted, breakouts here since April of 2024, essentially on this right angle broadening top. Okay. But with this type of a formation, what really matters? Well, this line doesn't quite matter that much, right? All that really matters is rising demand, the sweep and loss and recapture of 2100, super critical going forward, and the high time frame range peak 3,904K. We've paused here, not an unexpected pause, and it's flirting with an outside bar, right? Well, we understand what an outside bar is. I don't think I've recorded outside bar video yet, but that is coming. I have a list of like 300 videos I want to record, but we understand an outside bar as a Western TA or classical charting term, where you have, in this case, a bearish outside bar advance, and then the outside bar completely eclipses the range of the prior candle, right? This candle is completely within that range, and it's kind of like, there's like a fire and you throw like a rug or a mat or something to stamp it out, right? It's kind of like that from a conceptual standpoint, from momentum. So we see an outside bar potentially forming here. For this to be a more true, stronger signal, you want to have more volume than the prior candle, yada, yada, yada. Initial candle weakness at a logical spot. So what do? You're shifting and looking for what is going to be the higher low, right? We understand the consolidation here. Let's go back to the weekly in Ethereum. We understand the consolidation here. After the tower top advance, multi-star sideways, drop back in the midpoint of the candle, local breakout, 2,700, and then really the trigger 3K. So yes, throwback 3K would be, something to take a look at, but there is a little bit of support at 3,500, which is kind of like the 116 level for Bitcoin. So we have a similar concept to where there's a pseudo price vacuum, right? The price shot up here pretty quickly from 3K to 3,600, such that you're watching 3K and 3,600 and really, or 3,500 rather, and not much in between. There isn't really much structure here. So Ethereum holds here, or probably going to drop back to 2,900, 3K. I think that would be a very logical buy the dip level on Ethereum if it gets there. I want your questions. I can just talk. I can go through my chat, my list of charts. I can tell you what I think. I can talk about this and that. But for me, it's more fun and more interactive when I hear your commentary. Cheds, I love you. Cheds, I hate you. Ched, this is what I like about your work. This is what I don't like. Cheds, can you look at this chart for me? Like, let's do it, If you're hearing my voice, thank you. You're here. You're taking your time. You're joining my live stream. There's the weird-looking guy in an orange mask, but I'm teaching you professional TA for free. Take this opportunity to ask me a question. All you got to do is hit sub. You join the chat, and we can parlay. All right, so let's see. Big stats only. What's up, man? It's good to see you. Are hype and soul up thrusts? All right, we were looking at hype earlier. So you could call this an upthrust of the June high. But I wouldn't necessarily look at it like that. It's just, for me, it's just a new high that was made, it consolidated for a while. Normally with an upthrust, you're going to see that expressed over maybe 2 or 3 candles, right? You're going to see a peak here, it does something here, it comes up, maybe a couple candles and comes back, and that'd be an up thrust, right? You can think back to the 2021 highs on Bitcoin, right, where we had that up thrust at 69K, and we'll go all the way back here. And this is like a much better example of what I would consider to be an up thrust with hype. And we'll get back to that in a minute. This is a pretty clear up thrust. To me, hype is more so just a failed throwback or a failed initial stair step, right? Which would have been, the logical level for the price to hold. Somewhere around 40, 41. We've dipped below that. We're actually breaching the lower Bollinger Band, and this would be the most substantial breach of the lower Bollinger Band really in quite a while, since back in February, and the first one since it bottomed. And it broke out of the descending supply trend. It broke out in the 2-level filter breakout. I have a video on the 2-level filter breakout in the Trading Encyclopedia. And so it's really the most substantial retracement we've seen. We're now flirting with the loss of the SMA 50 or simple moving average 50 period. It means equally weighted. So that's actually a suggestion of weakening trend on hype. The loss of this MA 50, it may just mean a deeper, more sustained kind of a consolidation where you would maybe bounce in here, set a lower high from this high, and then come in and kind of come back down and do this for a while, and then maybe test this level. So there's definitely some caution, but it's still a strong trend, right? Look at the price distance to the MA 200, it's still quite a strong trend. But it does have a rollover consolidation look, especially with this loss of the MA 50. To answer that question about hype in a little bit of a roundabout way. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me talk into a microphone. So Solana definitely has more of an upthrust type of look on the failed break here of 185, or the failed hold on the retest of 185. It's essentially back into the consolidation range. You don't want to see that. And much of the market has had this pseudo double bottom type structure, whether it be with a lower low, sweep, higher low as we see here, or equal lows, peak, trough. We understand all the construction, but this one's essentially right back in here. So having already broken out, you don't want to drop back into the range. That's not great. And it's just along the lines of this choppy sideways SMA 200. So it's just a little bit of lack of strength in Solana. And as a bull, it's definitely disappointing to see it back below 180, 185. Okay. Okay. Influence says, Cheds, CMT, what would you say is the most reliable confluence for you? I'd say major horizontal levels. It's basically where maybe like, for Bitcoin Weekly MA 50 lining up with a key level, like for example, like a major structure, major resistance, and then it comes back, it breaks out and it comes back. Lines up here, and it lines up with like SMA 50, right? Like confluence of first SMA 50 test, major structure. Hopefully that answers your question. But you know my stuff. You've watched a lot of my stuff, Influence. I like a lot of different types of trade setups. But generally I like a throwback. I also like invalidation, like a bear structure invalidation, like a head and shoulders, right shoulder invalidation. I write about that. I didn't mention my 4th book. I didn't even mention, folks, I published my 4th book, The Trading Journal, earlier this year. Because of that, I'm making my 3rd book completely free trading quotes. So I forgot to mention, I'm making so much stuff. The trading quotes playlist, I'm reading every chapter. This is every quote and explaining it to you. Maybe it's better than the book. My books are basically free. I published 4 books. Trading Wisdom sold 15,000 copies, which is pretty good. But I have like free versions of it here. So I try to make my stuff be free. All right, get some good questions here in the chat. What's up, Optimist? Good to see you. All right, let's see here. Say SEI. Sure. Mr. Kitten wants to look at SEI. Let's take a look at SEI. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so this is essentially doing a clean throwback. It's attempting, or stair step, and we understand. I just recorded a video on this for the Trading Encyclopedia. We understand the concept of stair stepping, retesting prior resistance levels. It's essentially trying to do this, and it's the first SMA 50 tag. You still want to be cautious though, because the broader trend is troubled. You essentially have an unconfirmed downtrend, which is price above a falling MA 200. If you want to know how to spot a trend, what's an uptrend, what's a downtrend, I mean, I have a video for you in the Trading Encyclopedia series, which basically says like, what's an uptrend, what's a downtrend, literally right here. So you can watch that. But it's an unconfirmed downtrend. And it's in the midst of this, lower high structure, broadly speaking. So going to the weekly, you'd see we're still in this falling channel. But locally, or meaning recently, the nearby price action does have higher low, does have evidence of rising demand. And from a momentum standpoint, it's rather clear, at least to this old man, what level you'd want to see hold, okay? Crypto Big D, what's up, brother? Hey, Cheds, always loved your work, and your trading book helped me get serious into trading. Awesome. Thank you, man. Have you seen my new book, The Journal? SOL has a golden cross approaching MA 5200, and I think it will dip just under the bounce support. Okay, we just looked at SOL quite a bit, but I have a video on Golden Cross. I don't know if I've released it yet, but I know I've recorded it, and I don't really see a Golden Cross. This here, it's sideways though, right? Like if it was crossing here, it might mean something. But look, here's the whole thing, and I have recorded the video. Look at it right there. Moving average basics. Crypto Big D, you got to watch this video. It basically explains what you need to know about moving averages. So first of all, with a moving average, like a crossing signal, you're trying to reverse a trend. So if all the moving averages are sideways, these crosses don't mean anything, right? But for example, in this case, here's the MA 200. It's kind of flat, so not much of a trend. But if the 50 comes up like that, that's sharp momentum. But the 50 comes up like this, I mean, that's not much of a cross. There's no mojo. There's no momentum there. So you want to look at the slope. The pace of acceleration of the shorter term moving averages is crossing the longer term moving average. Okay. Golden cross it means squadoosh. Golden cross doesn't mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. Well, double negative. It doesn't mean anything if the price can't hold 180, 185 and it couldn't and it didn't. And more than anything, you're actually probably not going to cross. You're probably going to flatten out and move with the MA 200. Okay. Big D. Richard, what's up, brother? You want me to check ENA? Sure. I looked at it last stream. I'm on a different watch list now. This is from Bitcoin Live report. All right, ENA, what do we think? So at least ENA has a little bit of momentum, and it's above the level that we want to see hold. It's in essentially primary uptrend mode, holding that EMA 8. It's like Solana, if Solana was at like 195 or 200, right? Well above the double bottom, in this case, lower low structure with the sweep. Clearly above the breakout level. Does CRV look like a potential leader when Bitcoin bounces, says Tommy? Well, look, sometimes things move with Bitcoin and sometimes they don't. So you kind of want to play each chart within the four corners, right, of the chart in front of you. All right. But I mean, it's still pretty high and tight. It still looks pretty good. CRV, it's dipping below or right at where I want to see hold, right around 90 cents. It's been pretty strong, but I don't know that you can count on this to bounce just if Bitcoin does, or count on it to drop, just because Bitcoin does. So just kind of play this chart, based on what this chart is doing. It's got its own, price volume or, essentially price gap down to around 75 cents. So if it fails to hold here, which it's looking to fail, take a look around 75 cents. I'm scrolling around the chat room. What's up, Antonio? Antonio says, hi. What's up, Antonio? Daniel says, what are your thoughts on using anchored VWAP for chart analysis? Will you make an encyclopedia about this? Yes, I will make an encyclopedia video on VWAP. I have it on my planned list. I literally have like 200 topics. I'm populating a huge list for the encyclopedia. I think any type of approach that uses volume is good. Volume, weighted adjusted price, the VWAP, and it's, anchored VWAP. I think it's fine. I don't use that methodology, but I'm going to make a video on it for other people who want to at least understand what it is, and use it in their approach. I encourage people to experiment, with indicators. Just don't have too many. Like, I don't even look at OBV and RSI, even though I have them here, just kind of ready to go. Because I can kind of see it in the price. If you do it long enough, you can just see essentially in the price everything you need in the price chart. But like, don't have RSI and stochastics RSI and MACD. I mean, that's ridiculous. They're all doing the same thing. So You can experiment, but just don't like have a duplicate indicator, and don't, if anything, if you add something, take something else away, if possible. Have a more simple approach. This is a good question. Luis Roberto, have been following you for a month now. Really think your content is great value. Thank you. Wow, that's super nice, Luis. Where you been, man? And I don't know how you found me, but I'm glad you're here. When I started out, people helped me, and that's always been my jam. But it's not just altruistic. I get better by teaching you. So every one of these subjects in the encyclopedia, I have to research a little bit. Not everyone. A lot of them I just know because I've been teaching them for years. And many of them I have to look up a little to make sure I do it right. I check the textbooks again. Indicators I don't use, things that I don't always remember exactly. So I'm having to brush up, and by teaching, I get better. So, soak up all the stuff I got on my YouTube. It's all there for you, especially if you're a beginning trader or even somewhere in the middle. I really think my stuff will help you out a lot. We did SEI. We talked to Bitcoin a lot. You can always check that out. I don't think there's enough price history on pump. What do I think of the pump? There's no levels. There's no chart. You have a brand new chart on Pump Fund. It just basically started existing. You can't really do technical analysis on something like this. What levels? What do you mean levels? There's no levels. There's no chart. Chart doesn't exist. It's an absolute crapshoot, straight crapshoot. No price history. You can't do TA. There's nothing to work with. There's a pure outside of the chart type of play. From what you do see, it looks really bad, right? So, but there's no history. There's nothing here. Talked about CRV. Let's see here. Talked about SOL a bit. Cheds, we need your tower top versus high and tight consolidation video. Yeah. I actually already wrote it down as a note in my, I have an Excel spreadsheet. So that was a good idea. Big stats. I wrote it down. Richard's LTC and Link. Let's do a couple of those. We'll do Link at least. So Link is looking like a failed stair step. Wanted to see it hold at 1750. It is breaking back below that. And a little bit like SOL in that it is back into the range. We don't want to see it back in the range because if you can test the top of the range, you can absolutely test the bottom of the range. So bulls wanted to see it hold here, had an initial hold, essentially completed an M top. Your measured move would be around 15 bucks. Roughly, and that would line up with this peak here anyway. So it's a little bit beleaguered, a little bit weaker. Right now, let's see. Sui, look, what's up, Taylor? Nice to see you, Taylor. Sui, let's take a look at Sui. Okay, so not terrible, but not great, but it is trying to stair step again. It's trying to throw back or retest the prior resistance level where the price paused and consolidated. You have an M top with a higher high up thrust, but it's still holding the trough or the low of this consolidation range. It's still holding this level here. So you really want to see it hold right here at this level. I think I even put out a tweet about it yesterday. This is one I targeted as potentially being one to keep an eye on. Let's see, 4H response. Yeah, it kind of rolled over. A really interesting 4-hour. Maybe I'll go look at that in a second. But I feel like, there you go, Sui, back to throwback target on daily, circa 350. We're right here. So that's a very straightforward trade idea. Retesting a prior resistance level. Let's just quickly peek at that 4H. That Bitcoin 4H is really interesting. I didn't want to do that. Okay. Yeah, that Bitcoin 4H. Let's try it otra vez. All right, let's get to the 4-hour. And let's clean this up. All right, navigating trading view, right? So that was really interesting. We had this hammer candle. It closed red. Still technically a hammer, even though it doesn't have the shaven top. You can forgive a little bit of an upper shadow here. Inside bar, another hammer. And we were flirting with a hikake, which is essentially, and I got a video planned on this, where you have a move down. Let's say, so you've moved down the candle of an inside bar, and then you get basically a bear break, but it's a fake out. It comes back, and then it breaks the peak of the inside bar. It's called hikake. I tweeted it out. It's kind of an esoteric, a little bit of obscure, pattern, but I love knowing all little, here's a hikake, right? So it's essentially flirting with this. And I just remember all these things from reading all the textbooks. So I was flirting with that, but I didn't quite get there. Started the hikake here, and now it's rolling over. So the 4 hours is a little bit tricky. It's kind of tempting you for a bounce, but no real follow through. You like the building volume that you want to see. You like these lower shadows, move down into indecision, all these lower shadows. Kind of, with some recent support here, but it's looking like it's not holding. So that is, unfortunate for bulls who wanted to see it hold in 116K. Ethereum pushing that on that 3,500 level. Revo Anismovs. Hey there, Cheds. Been following you for some time and you have great content. Thank you. You folks are too nice. I've been doing this a long time and I really enjoy creating content. For those who are just joining now, check out the Trading Encyclopedia. I'm putting out a brand new video every day, 3-minute videos designed to teach professional technical analysis concepts and make them easier for you to digest. Here are some videos that haven't been released yet. These are all released. Double bottom. You see all these topics, and these haven't been out yet. Rate of change, divergence, experience. I'm making my whole trading wisdom book. This book, right, that sold 15,000 copies. I'm making it free, another free version on this YouTube. These are all videos I've recorded that I haven't released yet. So the new video out. Look at that. I've been a busy man. Look at all these topics I'm creating for you. RSI, that one came out today. So this should be your look at all these videos, right? I don't know. It's crazy. Once I get started with a subject, I just keep going for it. So look at all these things. You've never heard of them. Accelerating peak, out of line move, shaving bottom. So this is a really fun playlist. Check out the Trading Encyclopedia. Make sure to bookmark it or whatever, and new videos every day. I do these live streams a couple days a week, Tuesday, Friday. I will skip them when I have something going on in my life, but I never skip Bitcoin Live. It's been 7 years since I've missed my Wednesday or Sunday night market report. I do the full market report, so consider checking that out if you like my style, you want to learn more. But you really, it's all basically here for you for free on my YouTube. All my books, I have free versions of all my books. I do these live streams so I can talk to you. And mention my favorite exchange is BingX. You can get that link here and everywhere on my Twitter. I also have a new partnership coming for a U.S. exchange for U.S. users. I'll tell you folks about that in a couple weeks. Just ironing out the details. I tend to be very careful with anything I recommend or mention to my audience. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, I am on Twitter at Big Cheds, having fun. Shoot me a line there. Maybe I'll see it if not. Drop me a line on the videos. I read all the comments. I'm fighting the bots, the YouTube bots. There's many. But yeah, just check out my stuff. Let me know what you think. Let me know if what topics you'd like to see me cover that I haven't covered yet in the encyclopedia. What's up, Muhammad? Thank you, brother. Big Stats says, if you ever come to Philly, dinner's on me. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Philly's a nice city. I think I was there earlier this year. It's a cool city. So, all right, folks, I really appreciate you. I hope everybody is doing great. It's Friday. I hope you have a fun weekend planned. And we'll dance a little bit on the way out, as always. Church of 8 Wheels. Let's get it started. And again, folks, thank you so much. Thanks for spending a little bit of your precious time here with me. Let's do it. Everybody, be well.